Well, good evening and welcome to About the Valley. And my guest tonight is Paul Lynskey from the Blackstone Valley Education Foundation. And we're here to talk about college and college funding. And let me tell you, you might say, oh God, it's getting cold out there. I've got Christmas coming. I got Thanksgiving. June is so far away. And yeah, it is a far away because we got to get through this next winter.
Right.
But it's Paul was saying, this is the time you better start thinking about if your son or daughter is going off to college, it's time to start thinking about it because you've got to start putting it together. You've got to start making applications.
That's correct.
Yeah, because these colleges, they don't wait for you to call them in May. No, you got to be accepted by then.
Right.
And it's pretty competitive, isn't it?
Harry, it's really become very competitive, especially at the more selective colleges. I mean,
Yes.
students really need to know how to navigate this process.
But even the state schools can be tough.
Yes, very much so, because they're getting so many applications, because as the costs continue to rise elsewhere,
Right.
the state schools look very, very good, and they've really upgraded a lot of the programs.
Yeah, and it's not like, when you were going to the high school, you just went there next year and you were all set. No, it's not that way anymore. You have to be accepted. And then there's the programs where you get early acceptance,
Yes.
which you can probably get a better price.
Sometimes it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Yep.
My son got that. He got a special, he did well with Cornell and they liked him and they liked his marks and they liked his application. He got an early acceptance and got a little bit of a discount. But these are all things that are very important but you were saying that even if you've got a child who's a freshman in high school, just getting into that ninth grade now, and they're really considering college, they should start looking right now.
Well, we were doing a program, very much in the content we're going to talk about tonight, over at Tufts University School of Veterinary Medicine 2 weeks ago. And one of the teachers, I was doing it for parents, but there were teachers there with students also. One of the teachers came up to me and said that her daughter was a freshman somewhere right now, and she said she attended the session 4 years earlier, and she said it was the best advice she had, because most parents don't start looking at this process until late junior year, early senior year, where this person was in our session with the parent of an 8th grader. And it makes a big difference. How do you
Not
navigate?
even a freshman.
Not even a freshman, 8th grader, yeah.
But isn't it human nature? We put everything off until the last minute.
Well, I mean, I ran the statewide high school program from MIFA. So we were doing financial aid and admissions presentations in 300 high schools across the state. We were seeing 40,000 parents a year.
Wow.
Just in Massachusetts. And I used to tell people, if you like doing presentations, like you and I do,
Right.
there's nothing like a financial aid presentation to parents of seniors, because they're like a deer in a headlight. You could not lose their attention if you tried. They are locked on every word you're saying, because all of a sudden it's just hit them.
Yeah, because now they're going to have to deal with it.
Right, yes.
But by waiting that long, you really don't have many options.
That's right. It limits your options quite a bit. There are a number of myths about financial aid, and the earlier you recognize some of these myths, the more you can structure the family finances to maximize your opportunities at that time.
Yeah, and the way the price of higher education is going, if you started, okay, when your child was born, 15 years ago, and you put together a fund and you saved up for college, let me tell you, your goal might have been to have $20,000 in there or something like that, and figure that's going to cover it.
Not even close.
Not even close
Right.
anymore. And that happened to me, because by the time you got there, it seems that the rates the cost went so high. And it's not just the cost of the tuition. You got to pay all the other figures.
It's everything.
Yeah.
Everything's outpaced inflation as far as
Yeah.
how quickly it's increased.
Yeah, I mean the boarding cost and meal cost.
Well, we were just doing a session. I was doing a session 2 nights ago at the Millbury Public Library for a group of parents with whom we're working, and the advice I gave to one of the parents, and again the student was probably a 9th grader, was if you do nothing else financially leading up to the college years but this, you'll be in at least a stronger position, and that is reduce your debt. And that's the opposite of what most parents think. Most parents think if they have higher debt, they'll have more eligibility for financial aid. Harry, there's not a debt question on the entire financial aid form. They don't care what your debt is. So having significant debt greatly works against you because it restricts some of your options.
Oh, see, now, people really think that that's a big thing because I'll get more assistance from the federal government or the state.
Not even a question on the form.
Yeah.
No place to put it if you have debt.
They do look at your income.
Very much so. That's the driving force for most families.
And that's what they base it on.
Correct.
They base it on the income, not the debt.
Assets also, but income is usually the driving force for most families. Correct.
And they're not going to say, well, they never say you can't afford it.
Right.
You're going to have you pay something.
Right.
I will say, too, with my son, I told him I would pay for his education, and I did, but the school insisted that he pay a portion.
Okay, I think that's true. A lot of cases, yep.
I don't think people realize that. They think, oh, when I get there, I'll be all set. Well, my kid will be all set because I'm going to pay for it all. They want them to pay something because I think it makes them go to class.
Well, yes. I mean, that brings up a lot of points. Most parents, and you probably did it, and you know, I was in the field, so I didn't do it, but most parents will look at this process like, let's get all the financial aid we can first,
Right.
and if there's part of the bill left to pay, we'll figure out how to pay it.
Yep.
The system is structured exactly the opposite from that. The system is structured to set it up so that the family's going to be expected to pay everything they possibly can first. And if there's still a balance left, financial aid might help. And that's a fundamental difference that parents need to understand how this process works. The FAFSA, the Federal Financial Aid Form that you filled out, I filled out, every parent fills out.
Right.
Most people think that when you file that form, its purpose is to determine how much financial aid the student's going to get. But that's false. It's the opposite.
Yep.
It calculates not what my son or daughter is going to get. It calculates what I need to pay.
Right. Right.
And that's until parents start looking at this process from the standpoint of how it really works, they're in for a shock.
Yeah, and they don't. I don't think no one realizes that until they get to that point.
Right.
And then they get the form back, and it says, "Well, here's what you're going to pay."
Right.
Huh? I can't. That's unbelievable. Right. But now, what are some of the ways that the parents can get into this early? To go to your organization, or?
Well, no. We aren't equipped to do the individual financial aid planning, but almost every high school around the valley uses MEFA, Mass Educational Financing Authority, state-created authority. And the program I used to run is now run by others at MEFA, colleagues of mine, former colleagues of mine. And they get the college financial aid people and their own staff to present financial aid sessions in all of these high schools in the early fall. So if you're at Northbridge High School, if you're at Grafton High School, if you're at Uxbridge High School, contact the guidance office, say, when is the MEFA financial aid session, and you go.
And you don't have to be a senior to do that.
Oh, no, not at all. In fact, you don't even have to live in the town. You know, I mean, if you're a Northbridge parent and you missed the one at Northbridge, you know, see if you can go to Douglas. See if you can go to Sutton.
Okay.
Because the high school will usually, let any of the parents in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, the kids are going down to the guidance department to see what school they're going to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Because, of course, you try to pick a school based on what you want to advance your education in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's important. But you got to be able to find out, is that school going to be affordable to me?
Right.
You know, am I going to get into that school? What are their requirements?
Well, I mean, you're bringing up a point that works for both admissions and financial aid. When I talk to large groups of students and parents, I usually tell them the topic you were just saying. You got to apply to colleges with some kind of balanced list. And they'll say, well, what's a balanced list? You've heard terms like reach schools, mid-range schools, safety schools. Now, a reach school means there's less than a 50-50 chance you're going to get accepted. You may be a great B+ student, but you're looking online and the school looks for, A minus, A. You got a shot at it? Absolutely. Is it less
Yeah.
than 50-50? Maybe. But you really want to go there? Put it on your list.
Right.
Harry, you may be a straight A student, but that school's a reach school. I mean, if you're applying to some of the really highly selective schools in the country right now, where you're accepting 6 or 8 or 10% of the applicants, everyone's straight A's.
Right.
I mean, you've got schools that are rejecting 2/3, 3/4 of the valedictorians from high school who apply. So if you're a straight A student, but you're applying to one of these schools, your chances are way less than 50-50. At least know that. So you got 2, maybe 3 reach schools on your list. The bulk of your application should go to a college where your grades, your GPA, your class rank, your test scores look very much like most students who are accepted there. So if you apply to 5 of these mid-range schools, you're probably going to get into 4 of them. You might go 5 for 5.
And a lot of these schools have application fees, right?
Yes.
So you have to
And
pay.
they're steep. They're
Yeah.
steep, yes.
So you could be spending a lot of money and not even getting to the school.
That's correct. Several $100s if you're applying to most schools. I mean, most seniors around this area are probably applying to somewhere between 5 and 12 colleges.
Yeah.
That's an average. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
you need to be in that range, but most will be
So
in
you
that
could
range.
spend a good chunk of change
Oh, sure.
just applying.
Yeah.
And the application doesn't just say, well, how many A's did you get? And they're looking for a whole rounded person, right?
Well, yes and no. And again, you keep bringing up these great myths, which are important for
Well,
the
that's what I'm
audience.
trying to get out.
Yes, yes. Gone are the days, Harry, at most schools. I mean, when I'm talking about colleges, I'll try to be very careful to say things like most schools, some schools, only these schools, because there are 4,000 colleges. So, I mean, some schools will do things differently than I'm saying. And if a school tells the parents something different, do it their way. Don't do it the way I said it tonight. But, with multiple schools out there, like, dealing with this application process, you got a wide variation in what they're looking for. And it's not just the grades. Now,
Right.
most colleges, about 80% of their applicant pool are within a very narrow range of scores. In other words, my app and your app is going to look a lot like almost everyone else who's applying. It's common sense, Harry. If you're my guidance counselor and I'm a C student, you and I are going to sit down in September and come up with a list of colleges that will accept C students. If I'm a B student, we're having the same conversation. List is different. If I'm an A student, we're having the same conversation. The list is different.
Right.
Students gravitate their applications to colleges where most of the other applicants look the same as they do. And your 3.64 GPA is no different than my 3.53. Statistically, we're in the same range.
Right.
So how do you pick one of us?
Yeah, you can't go just by grades. They have to have other
Yes.
criteria. And that's what I want to get. What are some of the criteria they look at now?
Well, the most interesting thing is, in the old days, we used to kid about this. In fact, I was talking to one of the students. I was at Hopedale High School last week in one of the classes talking to a group of sophomores. And I was making the point, in the days when you and I went through this as parents, or even before that, people would say, take piano lessons to look good in your college application.
Right.
And you'd have the kid sitting out there playing piano, and maybe he hated piano. Those days are gone, which is good.
Yep.
The college is saying now, we don't care about a long list of activities. We're not looking for this. We're looking for this. We're looking for a deep involvement and passion in 1 or 2 activities.
Uh-huh.
So if you take piano, it's because you love piano. And if you got a passion for piano, you and I will spend half of the interview talking about piano.
Right.
So don't join. I mean, what is a math club? I mean, every school has a math club.
Right.
Anybody can join a math club at most
Right.
schools. Go with something that's a passion. Maybe it's math. But really get into it. As I tell students, as a quick example, if we're interviewing, and it's only me and the student interviewing, I was a dean of admissions and director of admissions. If we're interviewing, and I see that you were the treasurer of your junior class last year,
Yep.
big deal. It's a popularity contest most places. You know what I know what the college
Right,
knows
and
it.
you don't do that much.
Yeah. But my follow-up question to you will be, congratulations, Harry. I see you were treasurer of the junior class last year at Northbridge High School. Part two, tell me what you did as treasurer of the
Right.
junior class to have an impact on your class.
Exactly, yeah. Anybody can be the treasurer, but what
Anybody
did you
can be,
do to
what did you
improve?
do to it to be a
Yeah.
treasurer? Right. So they're looking for the impact player.
Right. Yeah. Were you compassionate about, did you just be treasurer because you wanted to have a position?
Right.
Or did you do it because you really wanted to help the class out?
And what did you do?
Yeah,
So that's my follow-up question. What did you do in that position? What did you do in that club?
right. There are tons of clubs in high school.
Right.
So somebody can go out and join them all and,
Anybody can do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
make half the meetings and say, oh, I
Right.
was in this club, this
Right.
club, this club, but,
Check it off.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like you say, what did you do in that club?
Yes.
How much of an effect did you have on
Yes.
the rest of the club?
And the colleges don't care if your passion for your involvement is a school activity or an outside of school activity.
Right.
I mean, it could be anything that you just have a real interest in, and they're going to encourage you to pursue that.
Yeah, example, if you're into scouting,
Sure, absolutely.
well, did you move up through the ranks?
Yes,
You know, because if you didn't, you were just there to hang around and have a good time.
right,
That's not what we were looking for.
right, right.
Yeah, I can understand it. Same with, well, I know with sports, they do look for athletes because colleges have athletic programs.
Sure.
And, you know, they give out scholarships for that.
Very, very, very hard to get an athletic scholarship. And
Right.
this is what parents of the younger kids don't realize, just how competitive that is. I mean, they think, if my daughter's the best soccer player on the high school team, she's got a good shot at a scholarship.
Yeah, but there's 100 high school teams out there
Right.
with great soccer players.
If your daughter or son is playing at the all-state caliber, not even Telegram All-Star, all-state caliber, we're talking the potential
Right.
for a scholarship. Anything below that,
Do they actually go out and search like the pros do? They have people looking out there?
oh yeah, it's very sophisticated. Yeah, very sophisticated. In fact, it's almost to the point where if you've got to contact the school, your chances are
You're
gone.
not
If
getting
they
a-
haven't found you already
Right,
without you,
they're not
right,
giving you an athletic scholarship.
right.
But now, now I lost my train of thought on that. I just had something come in my head and I lost it. Yeah, that's the thing. Everybody thinks, oh, my kid's good in sports, he'll go to college. But
Yep.
there's so many out there.
Oh, the academic scholarships are a lot easier to get than the athletic.
Yeah.
The leadership scholarships, the
And
performing
there
arts
again, too,
scholarships.
okay, yeah, as I was
Yeah.
trying to think about, a lot of schools, if you get an athletic scholarship, it might not be a great academic school either, and it may not meet your requirements for what you want to do academically.
Right.
Because here again, not every kid that goes on a college football team is going to be a pro.
No, very few are.
Right.
Right.
It's very limited.
Right.
That's why they pay them so much money, because they don't hire very many.
Right.
And that's for all sports.
Right.
So you think about it, you might get an athletic scholarship, but to a college that's not that great.
And you're not happy at the school. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're going there just to play football, then go somewhere and just play football.
Yeah, because you're not getting the education that you really need, or the challenge that you need to.
And I'm not knocking sports. I'm a huge sports fan.
Right.
But I'm trying to be realistic with
Yeah.
how this works. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, my son went to Cornell. They were not big on sports. They got a good football team, and they have
Ivy League? Sure. Yeah.
but they don't. It's not a big thing for them.
Right.
It's not like being in the Midwest.
Or the SEC.
Yeah,
Right.
where football is everything. They eat, breathe, and
Right.
sleep it.
Right. You wonder about some of those schools if they even have classes. Some
Yeah.
of the things you read. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Right, right.
Well, that did happen
Oh.
many years ago.
Absolutely. Right.
But
Yeah.
that's something to consider. And
Yeah.
now, does it really make a difference too when you graduate from a particular college? Does it help in some ways? I mean, I know some companies do look at certain schools.
Well, a lot of companies have recruiting relationships with a number of colleges, and that could be because geographically they're close by, or it could be because nationally that school has a well-known program in X.
Right.
And even though the school's in Boston, the company's in Seattle,
Yeah.
they need that relationship. So yes, I mean, some will tie into the schools, but they're looking more for the individual.
Yeah, I think it's more important with graduate schools.
Yes, it is, much more so.
You know, like if you graduate from Yale or Harvard law, you're going to get a job with a big law firm in Washington or
That's
New
correct,
York.
right,
But that's post grad.
that's correct.
You know, so we're talking a whole different ball game.
Yeah. Undergrad less so,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Undergrad doesn't mean no matter where you go to school doesn't have an advantage on what post grad school you're going to get into either.
No, I mean, the key with I mean, go to you said it, you know, go to an undergraduate school where you're going to feel like it's got the program you want, it's got the culture you want, you feel comfortable there, you'll enjoy it for 4 years, you'll do well for 4 years.
Yeah, that's another thing people have to look at. Do I want to go to a big school or do I want to go to a small school? It's a whole different environment.
Well, not only that, but I mean, it's a superb point. What most parents and students don't know is the single biggest reason a college freshman will drop out or transfer is they went to the wrong school in size.
Yep.
It's not money, it's not academics. They picked the wrong size school. Now, big school, small school, one is not better than the other.
Right.
You and I may be best friends all through high school, but I want the real small college in the small town, and you want the big university right in the middle of the city. And we find that out junior or senior year that we got opposite thoughts.
Yep.
We're both going to be happy where we go. We'll both visit each other as friends on weekends, but I could never go to your school and be comfortable any more than you would go in mine.
Yeah. So that's something that you really the kid has to think about.
You have to feel it.
Yeah.
You have to visit and feel it, right?
You know, I told you my son had an opportunity to go to UMass for free, just about. I mean, you had to pay some expenses, but that scholarship's a pretty good deal. He wasn't comfortable there. He didn't like it.
Yep.
We went to different schools. He really did like Cornell because he felt it was more the environment that he wanted, the people and the association and that. So that's where he went.
And the only way you could tell that was by going there. You have to visit the college.
Yes.
In fact, you have to visit more than once, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, because don't go by what they show you online or the brochures they send you. You have to be there.
Now, should you go visit before you got a chance that you might get in?
Well, I mean, these are really good questions. I mean, if I'm, 10 minutes ago, if I said, you should be applying to 5 to 12 colleges.
Yeah.
Well, if 6 of those colleges are outside of the Northeast, it gets really expensive for a family to set up 6 trips to the West Coast and
absolutely, yeah.
So I mean, you have to be realistic. So if the school's not going to be easy for you to get to visit, wait to see if you're accepted if possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you got a chance, you're going to be accepted. Then go visit and see if you want to.
Right. Or if it's your first choice, you probably have to go visit.
Right.
Yeah. But you can't go visiting.
But that's another thing too. When you're talking about picking a school, if you're a real home person, you want to go to a school on the West Coast. Because now you're really breaking away. You're not going to be near home. You're not going to be able.
Right.
You're not going to go home on weekends.
Right.
You may not be lucky to get home on holidays in some cases.
Right.
So, it's kind of you got to really take that in consideration, right?
It's a factor as far as homesickness. It's a factor as far as finances. The funny thing, Harry. If I was talking to a group of 8th and 9th graders in the Northbridge schools, for example, I'd say, the question you just asked, I'd probably phrase it, how many of you want to go to college, as far away from Northbridge as you can get?
Yeah, I'll do.
All the hands go up.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
By sophomore year, it's half the hands. By junior or senior year, we're down to 10, 20%.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden the reality starts setting in, maybe I don't want to be 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 miles away. Now, some do.
Yep.
And they'll do it. But most will stay within a few hundred miles of home.
But then they can make that decision and then find out it's the wrong decision, and they just wanted to get away because maybe the parents were a little more restrictive and didn't let them get away with a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If I go to school far away, they're not going to know what I'm doing. And then they find out that they missed that.
Yep.
They missed being controlled a little bit.
Well, I mean, the other thing, if you're a half hour away or an hour away, the parents don't know what you're doing either.
Right.
You don't need to go to the West Coast. I mean,
right.
Parents don't drop in your dorm room on a Friday night normally.
No.
Right.
No.
Right.
And and that's a big part of the college experience too, is to be on your own.
I think so.
You know,
Yeah.
having to make your own decisions, having to make your own way, having to
Mhm.
get up on your own. No one's calling you. Hey, come on, it's time to get ready for school.
Right.
You got to do that. You can miss class. It's your own fault.
Right.
You get sick. You got to do something. You got to find a way of getting better.
Right. And the thing is, and parents, it's easy for me to say this to parents, but I mean, I was a parent and you were a parent going through
Yeah.
this. But I'm pretty blunt when I give a presentation. I say to parents, you got to back off.
Yep.
I know we're going to get stuck paying for it, but it's your son or daughter who's got to make that decision, because if you force the decision, they're going to sabotage the school.
Yes.
They're going to flunk out.
Yep.
I was with, I won't say the school, but let's just say a large private university in Massachusetts that everybody in the world knows. Speaking with their dean of admissions a few years ago, and she made the point. She said, Paul, she said, other than sending a transcript with bad grades to a college, the second worst thing an applicant can do is give the admissions office the impression the parent is driving the process. The parents making the phone calls, the parents setting up the
Yep.
appointments, the parents asking the questions, the parents doing the follow-up. You've just pulled the rug out from this 17 or 18-year-old who's trying to impress the college that they're an independent young adult who's motivated, and you completely shot down their application.
Yes.
So we have to back off, parents.
Well, what about the situation where a parent wants them to go to their school?
Well,
That's
go
not
back to what I
uncommon.
just said. I
Yeah.
mean, it's tough on parents because they think they know what's best.
Will the school reject them though, saying, hey, wait a minute, you're not coming here just because your father went here or your mother went here?
Well, the school will pick it up right away,
Yeah.
because they'll pick it up from the passive aggressive non-question of the student.
Yeah.
Yeah, that this student doesn't want to go here.
Because that for many years was the way it was.
The legacy.
Was a legacy,
Yes.
yeah. Especially with universities like Harvard.
That's mostly gone now.
Yeah.
Mostly gone.
And I think it should be,
Yeah.
because I think the student should make the decision as to learn about the school. Is that school going to give me the education I'm looking for? Is that what I want to go into?
Yes.
Are they offering the best courses in what I want to do? Because that's what the rest of your life.
Yes. And what you said, back at the beginning of the program tonight, talking about our conversation before going on the air with, parents who are still 5 years out from this process, why it'll be helpful tonight. I tell students and parents, start visiting 8th or 9th grade. Now, don't call me at admissions and say you got an 8th grader who wants to come for an interview. I don't have time for that.
Right.
But hop in the car this Saturday, although the weather might not be good, but hop in the car, on a Saturday, and,
Yep.
let's drive out to Western Mass and drive around a few colleges. Let's drive into Boston and walk around a few colleges. Let's go up to Maine, New Hampshire, and you don't even have to call, the college and say you're coming. You pull up to the security booth, you roll down your window, you tell the security officer, high school family just want to see the place.
Ah.
There's no one they'd rather have on campus than you in the whole
Yep.
world.
And you're
They'll-
talking even with an 8th grader.
Oh, sure. Just drive on the campus, park anywhere where there's visitor parking, walk into any building you want. I mean, the residence halls will be locked for security, but walk through the classrooms, walk through the science labs, walk through the phys ed facilities, go into the student center, which is usually around the middle of the campus somewhere, order pizza and just sit around and people watch and let your son or daughter get a sense of it. Get back in the car. Drive 40 miles to the next school or 10 miles to the next school, and just try not to be judgmental. Son, daughter, what did you like about that place? What didn't you like about that place? What impressed you most? And just listen. And that's how they start building up, this is what I'm looking for.
You make a good point, especially looking at the other students. You kind of get an impression of these are
Sure,
people
do I
want
fit in here?
Is this the type of people I want to be with?
Right. Right.
Yeah, because some schools can be pretty wild,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe you don't want to go there. Maybe the kid, I'm not interested. I'm really interested in going and get my education.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to party. And we know there are party schools.
Mm-hmm. And the kids will pick up the culture real quick.
Yeah,
Real quick. Before the parent will.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
Just by what the students are dressed wearing, which
Yes,
we parents wouldn't even
that's what I
notice.
mean, yeah,
Right. They'll
yeah.
pick it up right away. This is me, this is not me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that helps them decide, well, gee, I don't really want to go to that school.
right.
And good time. You're right. Now you got 4 years to think about it.
Right, right.
And also, if they really like a school, they might work harder to meet that objective.
That's exactly the point. Once they start setting a goal for themselves, they start understanding the relevance of what they're doing in the classroom in high school.
Yeah.
I got excited about this school I visited as a 9th or 10th grader. This is where I want to go. I've been online. These are the grades I need. Now there's some importance to what I'm doing in high school. It all of a sudden clicks.
And we're talking higher education, we're talking college, university education. But there's talk now that maybe that's not where everybody should be going. We shouldn't have 100% of the class going on to another 4 years.
I agree.
Yeah, so I want to get into that with you.
Sure.
Too.
I mean, we do. I'm the executive director at the Blackstone Valley Education Foundation,
Right.
and our job is to connect the 15 school districts in and around the valley with the businesses in and around the valley. So we took over 200 students in the past 3 weeks to major international manufacturers around the area to learn about STEM careers. We're going to be taking several dozens of teachers to businesses after the first of the year to learn about the skills gap, what students need in preparation in order to get into careers.
You say STEM. What's what the people know what STEM
STEM
means?
would be science, technology, engineering, and math.
Okay. That,
Four
like
of the key technical areas that there's
Right.
a lot of emphasis on. A skills gap.
It
Shortages.
doesn't require a 4-year degree.
No, it doesn't. And the Department of Labor says that over the next 10 years, the fastest growing sector of the economy will be, for lack of a better word, technician, which is roughly the equivalent of a 2-year degree
Right.
beyond high school.
And we're talking a big difference in the price.
Big difference in price and very good pay.
Yes.
Yes.
And we got a lot of, well, I used to call them junior colleges. Now they're called community colleges.
Yes. Doing a great job.
That give you a darn good education
Right.
in a technology that you can walk out and make a bigger paycheck than some people who do 4 years.
Oh, there's no question about that. I mean, you go to a great place like Quinsigamond with a stunning range of courses that will
Yep.
prepare you for very good entry-level pay
Yep.
with their 2-year degree. Very good.
Yep.
And if you want to transfer onto a 4-year degree, you can do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, there's a big difference too in getting accepted into a 2-year college, right? I mean, not as tough.
Well, yes, that's correct. But here's where, again, where there's a misunderstanding. Quinsigamond, like any Massachusetts community college, has what they call open admission.
Right.
As long as you've got the high school diploma or the GED or something comparable, you can get into the school. That doesn't mean it's open admission for all of their majors.
Right.
They've got some quite selective majors where there's a significant number of applicants each year who are not accepted.
And
So grades are important at Quinsigamond to get in.
how do you qualify for one of their majors? You have to have certain skills in certain areas.
No, it would, well, I don't want to say no because they got so many majors. I don't know if no is the correct answer. But no, the grades are really important for some of their more
So they
selective
look
majors.
at your high school grades,
Correct, absolutely. Yeah.
but not just grades, attendance.
Well, everything becomes
Yeah,
important. I mean, they're
everything.
looking for a serious student
Yeah.
because they got a limited number in whatever
Right.
this major
The
is.
same as you would applying to a major college or university.
It could be. It could be very selective.
Yeah, but there again too, if you've been out of school for a long time and you just not feel like you're going anywhere in your current employment, you could go there and pick up a 2-year degree in a specialty and probably have a good shot at getting in too, right?
Yes, I mean, the community colleges are structured very much for what the term was, is non-traditional adult.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not sure exactly what the average age is at the Massachusetts community colleges now, but a few years back it was in the upper 20s. So it wasn't the 18-year-old, it was the
Yeah, these are
28-year-old.
people that had already been out working working
Right.
for a living and now want
If
to
28's your
advance.
average age, that means you got a lot of 38s and 40-somethings
Yeah.
going back to school.
Yeah.
Right.
And when economy is slow, you see it happen more often because
Yes.
there's less jobs out there.
Exactly, the
And you-
retraining. Yes.
Yeah, you were saying, I talked with Jeannie about this, Jeannie Hebert down at the Blackstone Valley Chamber. the manufacturers, and believe it or not, we have a lot of manufacturers in the Blackstone Valley.
Oh, yeah, doing well.
Yeah, and people
Yeah.
don't realize they're here. But their claim is they can't find skilled workers
That's correct.
to run their machinery or do their design work or whatever they require to be done. And years ago, you got a factory job, was maybe you sat on an assembly line or you did some assembly work or quality control, which could be trained for pretty easily. Those days are gone.
Hmm.
This stuff is a lot more technically
It's
involved.
high tech. The places
Yeah.
are spotless.
Yes.
We were at one, today's Thursday, we were at one 2 days ago. 600, 700 employees. They've got openings for 140 positions right now.
Wow.
They can't stop hiring. They're putting 20 in their orientation class every 5 days, new employees.
So they're bringing people who have to train them themselves.
Well, that's the thing. Most companies are telling us that if you've got someone who's willing to learn, dedicated, dependable, they'll train them.
Right.
They'll train. They're looking for the person who wants to learn and is motivated to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and like I said, it's not the old days where you did assembly work. That's being done by robots and
Right.
machines now.
right.
So it's not walking in off the street and getting a job. Like I remember when I was a kid, all these people worked up to high school at Press Wheel. If you remember Press Wheel in South Grafton, they made lawn chairs,
Uh-huh.
and you assembled them together. Anybody could do it.
Yep.
But those days, that stuff.
It's all programming for the
Yeah.
machines now.
And if they make anything like that, it's being done overseas.
Probably true.
So
Right,
you got to be more specialized.
right.
But there is such a demand for it.
Yes.
Now Jeannie started that. She got that program going down there at the chamber.
The Ed Hub, the Education Hub, the Chamber is
Yeah.
is just getting going for
Yeah.
retraining of more younger adults and,
Yeah.
and workers
So
within
that's something
manufacturing.
what I'm trying to get at is the graduating class is coming up, or even the freshmen. You might think, well, maybe I don't need to go to college. Maybe I can go into something like this.
They absolutely should explore that.
Yeah.
I mean, when we're working with our 16 high schools, we're working with all the students.
Right.
So we got X amount who we're talking to about, the college degrees they want. We got X amount who we're trying to get them prepped up for how they can enter the workforce following
Right.
graduation.
Yeah. I mean, you got to complete high school. That's mandatory. That's no way around.
Right.
There's no way around that.
Right,
But after high school, there are ways, and some kids just want to get into the workforce.
right.
Well, you can get into the workforce by training, and not that long.
Right, right. Yeah, the business, the manufacturers, they call it soft skills.
Yes.
And they talk to our students every time. I mean, we had students at Dell Technologies 2 weeks ago, EMC. We had students at Waters Corporation. And we had students at St. Gobain's, big research and development in Northborough. They're all talking soft skills to these students. They're saying we need people who can be part of a team. We need people who can communicate verbally, who know how to write, who know how to speak, who know how to express viewpoints, who can analyze things. The technical skills are way down here. It's we want this person,
Yep.
and we'll teach you the stuff you need to know. But are you that person?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But and once you get into the company, you can advance there.
Relatively rapidly at a lot of
Yeah.
places.
Yeah.
If
Even-
you're that kind of person who
and
wants
maybe
to learn.
at a position that you probably would have got if you had gone 4 years to school, by working there and learning the position in the company.
Well, I mean, we were at Unified Global Packaging Group. They're right on
Yeah.
146.
Yeah.
They were Atlas,
Right.
all right,
Yeah,
until
yeah.
recently because they went through a big merger, and they had 7 or 8 of their like frontline supervisors talking to our middle school students, and every single one, I think, but 2 had come right from high school. They were working the lowest level entry jobs.
Yep.
They're not that old. I mean, they were like 30s, and they're all in supervisory positions now
But
because they had that
did well,
momentum.
and the company moved because they need people. They're going
Right.
to move them up.
And they were dependable, and they already knew that. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I've worked in companies that have, in the past, and I haven't been work full-time for a number of years, but in the past where you came in at entry level,
Mm-hmm.
and even though you didn't have the big degree, if you did well, they saw it,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to move you up.
You're a
because-
much better bet than getting someone
Yeah.
off the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know the business.
Right.
I remember when Cormac took over AMD over here, the guy that came in he was executive vice president. He had started as a truck driver for him, delivering
Oh, that's pretty good.
orders.
That's pretty good.
And he talked about that,
Yeah.
how he went from that to sales. Actually, if you get in the sales department, that's where you really move up in a company. Because they always treat the salespeople at a higher level, almost like an executive level, because they're the most important.
They're generating the
They
revenue.
generate the revenue.
Right. Right.
And that's another thing too. I don't think you can learn sales in college. That you have to learn out on your own.
Yes. I mean, you can go through, I mean, you've been through sales trainings. I've been through sales.
Yeah.
Everybody's been through sales trainings at
Right.
one point or another. Right. But, you know, some people will pick it up and
Yeah.
internalize it, and some is just,
It's almost something you got to develop on your own.
yeah,
You got to become your own salesman.
Right.
You got to become that.
right.
But it does take learning.
Yes.
There are things you can learn.
Yeah.
But I'm really surprised at how many people think they got to go to college, and and it's so expensive and not necessary.
Well, most go. I mean, we're in Massachusetts, so we got the highest college going rate in the country of all 50 states.
We have most colleges, I think, of
We have-
any state.
Of anywhere. Surprisingly, we're also the only state in the country where more students are in private colleges than state colleges. It's
Yeah,
the only state.
yeah, because
yeah.
we have so many private colleges.
Right.
It's amazing, and they're growing.
Yes. Yeah, they're doing it. The schools, colleges. I mean, you got a lot of colleges, you know, in that mid-range group, maybe the lower group that are struggling as the population declines a little bit.
Yeah.
But your more selective colleges are booming. I mean,
You go over to the Back Bay, and I think it's all BU.
yeah,
They keep taking over more and more.
yeah, right.
But now, is this going to make it easier in the future because populations are dropping a little bit
Hmm.
as far as kids that are going on to college? So it's going to make it more, you know, if you've got less customers, you're going to have to lower your prices to get them in.
Well, it depends. It's all supply and demand, you know,
Yeah.
which we're familiar with. If you are one of these highly selective schools that's accepting 8 or 10% of your applicants,
You're always going to you can get whatever you want.
and a lot of these schools say, we'll cut back the number we accept before
Yeah.
we lower the standards.
Yeah,
We'll just take fewer.
yeah.
So it still becomes very competitive.
But they're not looking at quantity, they're looking at quality.
Right.
Whereas if a school is looking at they need the numbers to keep the,
That's different. Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Then it'll be, you know, a little less difficult in the admissions process.
we just had a school go out of business over in Western Mass just outside of Holyoke. I forget the school now. Remember they closed and the state said they were going to take the students in?
Was it Mount Ida?
Mount Ida. I couldn't remember the name of it.
That's
I'm
closer to
familiar with-
Newton.
I'm
That's
familiar with the
Eastern
area.
Mass.
Oh, it's Newton?
Yeah, yep. It's
Why
close.
was I-
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm thinking of Mount Holyoke.
Right. You're thinking of Mount Holyoke. Completely different. Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, Mount Ida, yeah.
Yep.
And they looked like they were going well.
You know, we're going to see a lot more of those. A lot more of
They're
those.
just too small.
Yep.
And they're well-known school. They were considered a very
They were
very
well
good
known
school.
throughout the region. They had some real good
Yeah.
specialty programs, but
Yeah.
you know, it's that size school that is really facing a crunch. You know, the schools that don't have a large endowment to carry them,
Right.
the schools that can't say we'll just cut back 50 students this year because we
Right.
don't want because they can't. They need 50 more students, not 50 fewer.
Right.
Those are the ones that are coming into tight times, already in them.
Yeah. But you also find some of the schools are getting together in collaboratives
Yes,
to try to make their costs a little
mergers.
bit- Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mergers, and even if you go out to Amherst, they got the 5-college program.
The 5-college consortium. Yep.
Yeah. If you're going to UMass, you can even go to Smith.
Smith, Mount Holyoke,
Mount
Hampshire,
Holyoke,
and Amherst.
Amherst, yeah.
Yeah.
Which are pretty expensive schools.
Yeah, Amherst is one of the top schools in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And price too.
Right, right. Yep.
But you could take classes there if you're if you're going to UMass, paying the state rate
Correct.
by getting into that 5 college program.
Yep. They were one of the first in the country to start doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah.
I worked out in that area, so that's why I'm familiar
60s,
with
I think they started it back in the 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're seeing more and more of that happening.
Hmm.
But oh my God, it's to think about it though. I wouldn't want to have to be facing college again.
It's a challenge. The most important thing are the grades.
Yep.
Test scores come after that. Activities come after that. But the student needs to focus on the grades.
Now, how do you find? I see the number of kids now. Of course, I was drafted, so I had no choice. They
Mhm.
took. I like to say they took me kicking. But today, it's a totally volunteer military.
Yep.
All around, so people go in because they want to go in, but a lot of them go in now to get on that GI Bill.
Which is one of the greatest pieces of legislation ever passed in the country.
Oh, I
I mean,
know.
the one right after World War II, but
Yeah.
there have been several
Well,
versions since.
they've
Sure,
changed
yes.
it over the years.
But that was just brilliant. I mean, that had so many positive implications for the country post-war.
It
was just
increased the
incredible.
number of college-educated people we had after World War II.
Significantly. It increased the colleges.
Tremendous amount.
That was the whole baby boom. That
Yeah.
was, yeah.
And because it made it more possible.
Yep.
But you advise some kids that that's not a bad route to go?
The military?
Yeah.
Oh, it's some of the top training in the world.
Oh yeah, the training is phenomenal.
Right.
I
No,
learned a lot. It
but-
turned me into a man.
You can't be an officer now in the military without significant education, which they will put you through and they will
Yep.
pay for you.
Yep.
But I mean, some of the brightest, most educated people in the country right now are coming out of the military, and that's why these large corporations can't wait to grab,
Right.
you know, the young vets who are
Well,
finishing
the
up.
training is phenomenal.
Right. The discipline, the
You learn
responsibility.
discipline, you learn
the motivation.
responsibility.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, talk about having and you can't go home when you wanna.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you really got to learn to stand on your own.
Right.
Even though they supply everything for you, you're gonna get your meals and everything else and a place to sleep, but you got to learn to manage yourself.
Yeah.
But when I went in, you could actually go to OCS on a high school diploma during the Vietnam War.
Yep.
And
OCS was big then because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they would take people into OCS
Yep.
for a high school diploma.
Yep.
But today, forget it. You're not even getting close.
No. Not even getting close.
But now you're gonna have to go to school through the military
Mm-hmm.
on the ROTC programs,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, our ROTC is, I mean, if you're in ROTC or in college somewhere and you're developing, I mean, the ROTC is developing officers.
Yeah.
I
Now,
mean-
do they pay part of your tuition?
I'm not current on the latest ROTC benefits, but they always did. So I assume that there is some kind of tuition, but they should check that because I'm not current on what it is at the present moment.
I know my wife wouldn't let the Air Force talk to my son. But they called him when he was applying for medical schools. They called him. He never got to talk to him because she wouldn't let him. But they were willing to pay his medical school.
Think about that for an investment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if he was willing to go to join the Air Force, he had to commit.
Yep.
I think it was a 10-year commitment.
Okay.
'Cause, I'm not going to send you to school and pay for it, and then
Right.
I see you later. I'm all done. But they were willing to pay for him to go to medical school, and then he had to do a 10-year commitment after medical school.
Yep.
And it would have been all paid, which is not a bad deal.
You ever been to the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs?
No.
Oh, that's quite the place. Huge. Huge. Yeah. I mean, you're driving for miles before you see the first building, and you're already on the campus. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of course, that's the newest academy we got.
Right. And that's not that new anymore, but yes,
No.
you're right, by far.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. The oldest being West Point.
Right.
But yeah, it's a whole different. There again, now you can get a 4-year degree on the Army, or in the Navy, or any one of them by going to one of the academies. But there again, you got to be accepted.
Not only
You
is
have to
it
be sponsored
extreme,
by.
right, you have to be sponsored by a member of Congress
Yes.
or the vice president.
Yeah.
And while the grades that you need are comparable with your most selective colleges, you also have the physical requirements.
Yes.
Which makes it more challenging in many
Yeah.
ways. And I mean, I've worked with students going to, in this particular case, it was West Point, and the student got in. But it was fascinating. Back to the conversation we had earlier about the activities, Harry. When West Point or Annapolis asks the student about activities, the very next question is what I just said to you. What was your lead? No, it's not your impact. What was your leadership role in that particular sport club group?
Exactly.
You better have a leadership role.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're going to make you an officer,
that's leadership.
You've got to have leadership
Right.
skills.
Right.
They don't want you.
Right. They don't want the best tackle on the team. Well, I mean, the Navy football team may want the best tackle on the team in high school.
Yeah.
But no, they want the best leader on the team.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 And of course, 'cause that's what they're training you to do.
Right.
You're going to be the leaders in the military.
Right.
And they're hoping you make a career.
Yes. And many will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But really a great place to get an education. I mean,
Yep.
very, very good education.
And free.
And totally free.
$250,000 education.
Meals,
$300,000
board,
education.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clothing.
Clothing.
Yep.
And, the other thing that people have, my wife is like that. If you go in the military, it doesn't mean you'll be in combat. It's a very small percentage.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 5 people in support for every person in combat. I was in for 2 years, and I did another 4 years in the Guard. I never saw any combat. I was in during the height of the Vietnam War.
Well, that was pretty good back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because not everybody goes to combat. That's not,
But again, not everyone's cut out for the military.
right.
I mean, I know neither of my kids would have survived the month,
Right.
right?
Yeah, and today
But they
it's a
did
lot,
well in college.
Yeah, today
Yeah.
it's a lot tougher.
Sure. I mean, it's all, again, it's the same thing we talked about when we talked about visiting colleges.
Yeah.
It's what that individual person wants. They want to go to college, I don't want to go to college, I want to go to work,
Yeah.
I want to go to the military. I mean, everyone's different.
Yes, and boy, what a hard decision though when you're talking to a kid in high school. Well, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
But that's okay. I mean, what we tell parents and kids is, if you say to the college, I'm not, there are 2 ways to answer the question. Are we still okay on time? We're still okay.
Yeah,
for
we got a
all right.
couple of minutes.
There are 2 ways. If I'm the dean of admissions and we're talking, and I've got 2 of you here, Harry, and I say, the Harry number 1, what do you think you'd like to major in? Well, I have no idea. I really don't know yet. And I say to Harry number 2, what would you like to major in? Well, I haven't decided yet, but I noticed online that you've got a sociology program, a music program, and you got pre-med. Those 3 areas have my interest. I also noticed online I can take courses in all 3 the first year or 2, and I don't need to declare a major till the 2nd year. So that's my plan. Both Harrys said they're undecided. This one's got a sense of direction. This one's clueless. Who do you go with?
Right,
You can be undecided, but
Yep.
you got a sense of what my next steps are.
right.
Yeah, before I make that
Well, we got to
decision.
wrap it up.
Sure.
Hey, Paul, thanks for coming in. A word of advice, now's the time to start thinking about college if you're a senior, for sure. But if you're a junior, sophomore, freshman, even in the 8th grade, as Paul says, not too soon to start thinking about college and checking them out.
That's right.
And they can get in touch with you.
They can get Blackstone Valley Education Foundation website.
Yep. Go on the web. Their office is located right in Linwood Mill. Well, Paul, thank you for coming in.
Thanks,
Great
Harry. Good
show.
seeing you.
Great show.
That went by quick.
We'll be back in 2 weeks. Next week we have a board of directors meeting, so we're not doing a show. We'll be back in 2 weeks.